email address too.
Yep. So I'm going to put sample. All right. Thanks, Holly. All right. Thanks, Beth. All right, so we have some amazing people here tonight. Beth and Renee. Good to see you, Renee. Haley.
Hi.
So glad to see you, Renee and Haley. And Jackie Brooks, welcome, my friend. And Patricia Leon, welcome back, my friend. Great to see you online tonight.
Thank you.
And Miss Terry Robinson. Fantastic, y'all. So I'm glad you're getting my emails because I've been bombarding you. Hope that's not gonna. Renee, how have you been, my friend?
I've been doing good.
Good. It's really great to see you. I'm glad you've been.
Good to see you too.
All right, let's see. All right, we are recording. Mama. Oh. Do I want to know what you're doing? Okay. Oh, okay. Putting the chat over here so I can see it. All right, we're going to give one more minute for people to get settled, and then without further ado, we will go ahead and start that. Oh, and if you can see behind me, right here, Maya is my secretary in training, and she is writing everyone's name on the attendance list behind me. So, oh, wonderful. Okay, gracias. Fantastic. Well, on behalf of the Falacy Play chapter, I want to welcome everybody to this month's meeting. And I'm very excited that we have a wonderful guest speaker who, funny story, I saw her on the road when we were doing the pop-up summits around the state of Florida this summer with Falacy. And when I finally, Beth and I kind of nailed each other, and one of them I said, wait a second. And I looked at her business card and I found out she lives in the same city I do, which is Vero Beach, which most people don't really know what that is. And I said, my goodness, we're like sisters in the city. We didn't even know that we existed. So really, and that's right. We have one more pop-up happening next month. Ollie, if you get a minute, put that date in there in Orlando. And we got some exciting things, guys, coming up, just super exciting things. So stay to the very end tonight, because I have information on some exciting upcoming events and a potential speaker for next month. And also, after the presentation, we're going to play for a few minutes. And you were asked to bring some kind of loose parts play or some other items that you could tinker with for a few minutes. I don't want you to leave to do that now, but you will be given a little opportunity between our guest speaker and having Walter come on that, okay? So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my sister in the city, my friend, Beth Dingee, and she is from Healthy Families of Florida. She's a master of social work. She's super intelligent, but with that comes also a real kindred spirit for loving what she does. And her topic tonight that I've heard twice, and I still get something out of it, it's an abbreviated version called Motivational Interviewing. And she does have a presentation that she'll show us. So I'm going to come off the screen and I'm going to let Beth take over the screen. So thank you so much, Beth, for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited, guys. This has been a long time coming because I believe that was over the summer, right? Was it July or August?
Yes, it was. Mhm.
So we've been planning this for some time. So it really is just a moment to be intentional and be together. So I'm truly thrilled to be with you guys. I will echo what Julie just said is that this is like literally a blinking moment for motivational interviewing. If you guys are familiar with it, normally this is a training that we provide in 2 days. And so 30 minutes is going to be like, pay attention because otherwise you might miss something. I also just want to honor the fact that it's 7:07, something around there on a Tuesday evening, and you all have had a full day. So I see you. I know it took some effort to get here. So thank you for being a part of this. I would also like to ask if it's possible, go ahead and turn your camera on. I think we had a year of isolation, a year plus of isolation. And so for this brief time together, even though we're not together in the same room, let's be intentional about connection, right? About making eye contact, of seeing one another. And we're going to do actually, hopefully a fun activity at the end. So it would be helpful to see all. So in my kind of flyer I passed out, I put this image of a man trying to push that mule, right? And so when we begin to explore what motivational interviewing is and what it's not, I kind of have this mentality of, and I know we all know somebody, right? It doesn't probably take much to think about that person in your life, which you are just like, come on now, people, we can do it, right? Let's get it moving, right? And for whatever reason, they're grounded. They're not able or willing to move, or are they? And we just haven't figured out what their motivation is, right? And so challenging maybe our beliefs. As it pertains to what this is good for, this is the art of communication. If you all are striving in whatever capacity, whether it be work, or whether it's about human connection with your kids, your significant other, somebody that you care about, this is about seeing people. And this is about connecting at the heart. And so that's why I kind of get passionate about this subject. I also love this little clip, this meme, if that's what it's called. Remember that time I asked for your parenting advice, right? Oh, that's right, because I never did, right? And coming from a parenting program, I feel that, right? We love to give advice as human beings, right? If anybody finds out that they're pregnant, it's like, oh, let me tell you about my horror story of when I was pregnant, or my delivery story, right? And sometimes it's being mindful of, it's not advice, it's connection. And that's what we're talking about.
Oh, I need to borrow your charger.
No charger. All right. Been there, done that too, right? Okay. So again, motivational interviewing is that style of communicating. It really helps keep us in the position of curiosity and learning. Okay, so no longer are we doing more this, we're doing more this connection. It is not advice. As much as you have the best advice on this planet Earth, it is not that, right? It's exploring and encouraging that other person to have their own unique aha moment. How many of you guys know somebody who's stuck in life? Right? And the reality is, if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of us in this space right now, after COVID, during COVID, whatever we are right now, we're kind of having those moments of, where do I fit in this world, right? Where am I? Who am I? And maybe can be paralyzing as we're segueing into whatever our new normal is. You hear of people who are like giving up everything and just moving. And that's about of the journey that we've all just been on. It reinforces boundaries, right? It says, I am not responsible for the choices that you make. As much as I want to control the choices that my children make, they're young adults, I'm not able to do that. And so for me to be a sounding board, an opportunity for them to really explore not just their idea, which they are sure is the right choice, but be a sounding board for them to create that environment where they can explore, you know, what would that look like if you did do that choice that you're so dying to do? You know, what would the potential implications be? What would be the positives that would come out of that? In a place where they can say, okay, yeah, maybe that is a good choice, or maybe it's really not. Now more than ever, like I've said, it is critical that we are kind of exploring what connection looks like. And I think if we're good stewards of the message of connection, it's something that we need to be actively pursuing, right? Because we know a lot of us are feeling isolated. Even still today, we're struggling to figure out where we are. So not only is this a call for our work, it's just a call for human nature. And so what does that look like for us? It is this shift. I want you to think about somebody in your life that was this person. How many of you guys can think of somebody, even today, whatever age you are, that just comes at you and does not necessarily is physically wagging their finger, but in their tone, in their language, they're wagging their finger at you? How many of you guys can relate to that? Yeah, a few of us, right? Okay. Now, what about that person in your life? Maybe it's today, maybe it's not. Maybe it's years ago, a teacher or somebody that was connected with you. What were some of the attributes that that person had that you felt connected, that they understood you? What's an adjective that you would use to describe them?
Like with their body language,
Sure, body language is a great way of
like an
expressing.
eye-to-eye connection.
I literally see you, right? That nonverbal
Yeah.
language,
We
absolutely.
had in the chat, we have patient, we have commonalities in the chat.
Excellent, excellent. Did you feel like that person was giving you advice? And I welcome you guys to unmute yourself if you feel like contributing verbally.
So I have a person that we can really communicate eye to eye, and they get it and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been times where I've had other friends where I look eye to eye and it's like we're just looking right through a window and you're just not connecting. You're not making those connections.
Absolutely, absolutely. So maybe even just posing to you, what does a safe space for communication look like? What does that look like in body language? We know 90% of our communication is actually nonverbal. All right, so think back to those people that were instrumental. When I'm having a hard conversation with somebody, what do I need to be intentional about doing and bringing to the table? I was talking with somebody and she was expressing with her job that it was really hard. She felt like her boss was judgmental of her. She had to have hard conversations with her, but she felt like even walking in the door, she was going to be scrutinized by the words that came out of her mouth. And so I suggested, well, what if you don't justify your actions? What if you just stay curious? Stay curious in the moment of, tell me, what are your thoughts about how the situation was handled, right? Versus feeling the need to defend. So how many of you guys have ever heard of what motivational interviewing is or is not? Oops, sorry.
Guys, please make sure that if you're going to speak that you can unmute, and if not, please go ahead and muting.
So Holly, I see you, right? Excellent. Motivational interviewing is something that maybe you haven't even heard of. Maybe you've been doing it and you don't even realize that you're doing it. Okay, so this is about bringing intentionality, because most of us have been communicating in a way that is not inclusive of that open gut dialogue. We have a preconceived agenda before we even enter into the conversation. So as that person is expressing themselves to us, we are 2 steps ahead of them, thinking about what we want to say versus staying in the moment and present with them. So if I had to kind of recommend a place to start with motivational interviewing, it would be if you guys could buy into open-ended questions, right? They're not as easy as they sound. So any of you guys familiar with what an open-ended question is and what it's not? All right, Renee, I'm seeing you nod a little bit. Okay. So open-ended questions is your cheater. How many of you guys have ever been in a conversation with somebody and you felt like you were doing all the lifting? It's like, all right, here we go. Let me come up with another question, right? Like, okay, one more time, right? And it's like, okay, so motivational interviewing sets the stage where you ask a good question and the other person has to do all the work. Right? Like, don't we all want that? Right? Where when you see somebody do this, and this is kind of a little like, aha, this is when you want to do on the inside that happy dance, like, woohoo, woohoo. When you see a person do this, you've just asked a brilliant open-ended question. What's the first thing that humans want to do when you see this? Any guesses? Think about yourself communicating with somebody, and I just did this. What would you feel the need to do?
Either answer it or provide more additional information.
Yeah, that's it, Julie, right? Yeah, so I'm going to fill that space because I'm awkward, right? We're all awkward with silence. And so we see that space and we're like, oh, maybe she didn't understand the question. Maybe I need to ask that question in a different way, right? Like, so she can understand. People, we all understand the question. Just give me some time to process it. Because when you see that, that's my brain doing the heavy lifting, right? The other thing that I'm brilliant at is asking multiple questions back to back, right? I don't let you digest the one. Let me ask the next one on top of that. So when we're thinking about what open-ended questions are, we've got some tips on the screen, right? So open-ended questions are words that begin with, or question words like what, where, who, how. We're going to try our best to stay away from why. And sometimes this is one of those areas that people kind of are like, I don't understand, right? So what are some of the reasons why we'd want to stay away from why? Any suggestions? What do you think? When I say to my husband, why didn't you clean out the garage? What is that going to do?
Accusatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holly says it's judgy.
Yeah.
Kevin says justification.
I have justification, right? The garage should be cleaned out this way, my way. Yeah, and all of those things are still real for me, people. I don't want you to think I'm sitting on a pedestal saying like, oh, I got this all down. I still want to ask, why didn't you clean the garage the way I asked you to, or do this, but in reality, it's setting myself up for disconnection. Right? So if I'm my husband and it's literally doing this. We're kind of propelling each other. We're setting ourselves up for a less connected conversation because we're both going to get defensive really soon. Okay. One of the cheaters that I use, and if you want to start here, I strongly suggest it. Tell me more. Tell me more about what the weekend looked like for you. How many of you guys say on Monday, how was your weekend? Anybody? Yeah, Julie, I saw you. Yeah. How was your weekend? Yeah, typical, right? How many of you guys really want to know how the other person's weekend was? I'm just keeping it real, people. Our society kind of encourages us to use closed-ended questions. So how could we get more information? Because I really care about you and I really do want to know how your weekend was. I know you were concerned about X, Y, or Z. Tell me more about your weekend. Tell me, what did that event look like for you? I know you were worried about the dress and your in-laws, right? Tell me more. That's going to lead to this. The other thing is beware of you. Okay, so the you is anytime you hear the do you, could you, would you, should you, have you, that's going to lead you to a closed-ended question. So anytime you hear that word, let it be like a little red flag going off where you're like, okay, need to change path. And the reality is, and I say this, I was actually doing day 1 of motivational interviewing training today with some of our our peers. And, I said, there's no motivational interviewing police out there, right? Nobody's coming at you going, you did that wrong, right? And no conversation should be solely all about these open-ended questions. That's not going to feel authentic. So the challenge is just embracing more of these so that we have more opportunities for connection. Okay, so I have a game. I know some of you are probably going, oh dear Lord, what is she going to ask me? So I want you to think about my son. And I use this example, and this is actually a true example. My son loves video games, and he enjoys his couch or his bed. I don't know if any of you can relate. He's 18. And so I am struggling thinking that he is just not motivated to mow the lawn because it has not been done, right? So how do I move my son? How do I figure out what his motivation is? How can I facilitate motivation for him? Any ideas?
Oh, but if you have an answer, I'm going to take it because I have a 17-year-old doing the same thing.
Drives me nuts. I wish I had a magic wand, but
Yeah.
I want to ask, right? So what would get you off the couch and mow the lawn? What would that look like? What would it take? How concerned are you that if you don't mow the lawn, that you're going to lose your privileges? All right. And that in our household is usually phones and that kind of thing. So yeah. And I don't have, have they always worked? No, but it gets him to think, okay, so if I sit on this couch, what's the likelihood that I'm actually going to get, have a consequence? What if it starts raining at 3 p.m., which typically happens in Florida, at least in Vero Beach, right, Julie? All right, so here's our activity. I'm going to challenge you guys to be vulnerable, right? Vulnerability is hard. In fact, we grow up being taught that vulnerability is no good. And I'm here to tell you that's wrong. It is hard, but actually vulnerability is that space where growth begins. So I'm going to challenge you guys. You guys ready? Are you willing? Some of you guys are looking at me going, why did I sign on today? But this is going to be a great fun activity for us to really explore what open-ended questions are going to look like. So if you guys are cool with it, go ahead and put your screen up so we can see you and we can kind of go around the room. So I am going to put a timer on. I'm going to go for 1 minute. And here's what I want you guys to do. I'm going to give you a prompt. And we're going to see how many open-ended questions we can ask during that time, okay? So do you guys have access to the participant screen where you can click on? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want the chat or the participant screen?
Participant screen.
Okay.
Oh, I keep hitting the wrong button. Sorry, guys. Okay. So from my lens, it looks like Holly, Julie, a 312 number. Okay. Everybody seeing that? Oh, wait. Yeah, everybody good?
There's 14 of us. Mhm.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. So we are going to ask random, silly, useless questions, but they have to be open-ended. Okay. So the activity that we're going to start first with, and we're going to challenge ourselves and we're going to see how far we can get. If we can do more the first round or if we can do more the second round. Kelly, I see your hand up. Oh, I can't hear you.
She's on mute. Kelly is on mute. So if she's trying to say something, nobody hears her. Oh, there you go, Kelly.
on mute and then get the video thing on, and I am not doing it. So my hand is not up. Just, it was an option. So there you go.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. This is about mowing the grass, getting that teenager off his bottom to mow the grass. So my open-ended question, I'll start with mine, is what will motivate you to get the grass mowed? Holly?
What would you rather be doing than mowing the grass?
Julie?
How can we come to a resolution so this grass gets mowed? Or is that
Excellent.
much of a choice?
Excellent. Kelly?
Do you want to live here for free? Mow the grass.
All right, so I'm going to pause on that one. So do you remember the you? I love that question, just so you know, from my inner soul. So how could we rephrase that to be open-ended? Because every closed-ended question can become an open-ended question.
Okay. So living here for free needs the grass to be mowed.
Kelly, can I offer a hand?
Sure.
Okay, so what makes you think that you can live here for free?
Because he is.
All right, excellent.
Right.
Excellent job. All right, so Walter, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what it is that he likes to do besides sit on the couch.
Excellent. What else do you like to do besides, sit on the couch?
Yeah.
Great question. All right. So here's the next one. The next one's a little bit silly because we just hit the timer. The next prompt is, and so I think we got myself, Holly, Julie, Kelly, and Walter. So we got to 5 on that one. So our goal is to get to at least 6 to beat that one. So this prompt is, you are seeing a faux pas on a Zoom call, and the person doesn't realize that she's walking around with her computer on, and she sees, and the significant other is in the background in their boxer shorts. All right. So that's the prompt. So Dr. Angela Perla Almodovar, hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and get us started, and I'm going to tell you when, because I'm going to, my goodness, my apologies. So I've got the timer ready to go. Are you ready to go?
She has not unmuted at the moment.
All right.
Renee, would you like to take this one? Renee's usually good at playing games.
How about Haley?
Ooh, come on, Haley. She's one of mine. Come on, girl.
I'm still kind of confused on like I don't know. Could you give an example of what a good one would be?
I'll give you an example, and then you'll just use that one, right? So anything, so let me ask you, when you think of somebody having a Zoom faux pas, what would be a question that you'd want to ask them after they realized it?
What is that?
Oh, thank you. So a faux pas, I appreciate that. Sometimes I forget my language, right? So it's like a mistake, right? Like they are walking around, they're walking around with their computer. They don't even realize that significant others in the background in their boxer shorts, and everybody else on the Zoom call can see.
Okay. So you're asking that person an open-ended question?
You are.
So that they would move the computer away from them or something?
Just whatever comes to mind. We're just being silly here, so it's really not. You can say whatever you want.
I think someone else should take this one because I'm still kind of confused.
All right, Jacqueline.
I just unmuted and you called my name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What about Where do you get those plaid shorts from?
There you go. Great one. All right. Catherine.
Oh man, Jacqueline, just that was the one that I was thinking is, how is it that your husband and my husband have the same boxer shorts?
Perfect. Patricia.
I'm also confused.
Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Let's
Yeah.
see. Where did we go? Did we do Catherine?
Yes, we did.
Okay, everybody's jumping around over here. Sorry. Renee, did we do you?
See if I can see. She's been putting it in the chat. Let's see if I can find her in the chat. By the way, Dr. Angela's having a problem with the computer, which is why she's not able to
Oh,
see if she can hear real well.
Terry, how about you?
Where are you right now?
Excellent. Who hasn't gone yet?
It could be, where did you get your husband boxers? Or something
Where did
like
you
that?
get your husband's boxers? What else is a good one?
How about, when is your usual bedtime?
Brilliant. What else? Anybody else? What made you think that was a good idea to walk around with your camera? Not the best to encourage engagement. What?
Renee put in the chat, where are his clothes?
I was gonna say.
Where are his clothes? What was it like for you when you finally realized that he was walking around in the background with just his boxers on? What are your concerns about going back to the office in real time? You know, we could go on and on and on and on. I know sometimes when we do round robins, it's like, this is one of those things that I hope you are just curious about now moving forward, because I know we've gone over time. It is a lot to kind of put into perspective for a 35-minute, I think we're at now, discussion. But I can tell you, I went to motivational interviewing training initially as a program manager for Healthy Families. I continued it on my role as a training specialist. I conducted motivational interviewing as a social worker. All of those were great for my professional relationships. But where I get passionate and almost teary is that it has bridged gaps in my personal relationships to the point that I really can't even explain how it transitioned my discussions with my kids in particular, and my husband, right? Trying to remember we are humans, we thrive on connection. And so even when we have to have hard conversations in our line of work, it can come from the place of non-judgment and just about trying to connect with another human. And the same thing for those people that mean the most to you. What questions do you guys have overarching about motivational interviewing?
Beth, this is Holly. Can you give like maybe just like a final example, just as a lasting memory of how someone that's maybe a preschool teacher or an infant toddler teacher might use this in talking to one of their families or parent about like maybe, I remember in the training, not to give away the amazing training that we did for this over the summer, and we will be doing in Orlando on November 13th, is like, I remember mom was like if your kid's a biter, like, or like, right, like how do you have that conversation with a parent, like maybe put it in that type of context.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Holly. So first of all, it's where do you think that parent is coming from? So I'd love to open that up for you guys. When I am called into your office or called into your daycare or facility, where do you think my heart is as a parent?
Oh, with the child.
With the child, concerned. What else?
More chicken you can do.
Anybody else?
Are you the
I
parent
think-
of the biter or are you the parent of the bitee?
I am the parent. Well, let's just say that I am the parent of the biter. If I am being called into a classroom setting, if I'm being called into my boss's office, where do you think my mind goes automatically?
I'm in trouble.
I'm in
trouble.
trouble.
You're about
I'm
to put my
in-
child out of the program.
Exactly, right? So
Mhm.
even when and this is true to this day, people, even when my boss calls me into their office, it can be like to tell me like we're doing this great thing. My go-to mode is I'm in trouble. When I get a phone call from the school for my kids, my go-to mode is what did he do? What happened? You know, you're even if I don't know what the conversation, I'm feeling like I did something wrong. Right. And so a lot of times getting into the place of where they're coming to is owning that emotion first. You know, how are they entering this place? You know, your family, some of them might be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Others might be like, not my Johnny, you know, like wherever that is, trying to understand where they're coming from. The other thing that I would start that conversation with, and this is just my perspective, you can do it a whole host of different ways, is, you know, tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've noticed at home, maybe some changes recently. What has, you know, biting look like at the house? When do you notice it occurs the most? Right? And I'm going to be intentional about giving the pause and letting them process that information. And then motivational interviewing encompasses other things like affirmations. And affirmations are, this must be a really challenging conversation to have right now. I really want to support you both. You know, I want to make sure that I can be here to help support you with whatever this is going like at home or in the school setting, right? So thoughts, comments, loving pushback. I'm all about loving pushback.
I think the tell me more is huge. You know, I started doing that a few years ago and it just made all the difference in the world talking to young children. Because then it turns it back on what's important to them versus what I think is important for them to say or feel or act or whatever. But to allow the tell me more statement just seems to put so much power in the person receiving the message and then being able to speak back to you in a freer context.
Absolutely. And if I'm being totally transparent, and I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this, but how many of us have felt in our career like I needed to know it all?
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And so this is where we get to be like, I don't know your child like you know your child. Tell me more, you know? And it comes from a place of no judgment, just being totally present in the moment with that family as they're navigating a whole host of emotions about being the parent of the child that bit, right? And whatever that looks like for them, and it can look like a range. Motivational interviewing, and I didn't share this, and I will be conscious of making sure I'm stopping because I'm over time. It started actually in recovery centers for individuals who might have an experience with addiction. And what they found is the directive approach, which was you need to stop hanging out with those people, places, and things, kind of a thing. Wah, 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 wah. And the motivational interviewing, family-centered approach came from that place of, you know, what has been barriers in the past to your sobriety? What are things that have helped you stay sober, right? It's starting with them and honoring that we are all unique people. We are all unique parents. We have gifts and we have opportunities. And so we're all in this kind of a together mentality and supporting one another in our role, whatever that might look like. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
This was really great. This is Terry. I just spoke with two parents before, and I wish I would have had this little piece because I could have said, tell me more about, your child. Because she kept asking me, how is he in the classroom? And I wanted to hear more from her, but I just didn't know to use those
Yeah.
words. So thank you.
Oh, Terry, that makes my heart swell. So thank you for sharing that.
That's
Yeah. It's hard. Night. Have a good night. So ultimately, Terry, I think that was a beautiful validation of what motivational interviewing can do. It takes the pressure off of us, and it says, I'm fully here with you. I'm present with you wherever you are. And it maybe just maybe takes the parent from feeling defensive, feeling like you think I'm a bad parent. What are you thinking about me because my child is biting, all of those things. And it becomes more about this than this. I will share with you guys, we at the Training Institute do offer this to outside facilities as well, if that's something that you're interested in. I did put my boss's name and contact on here. Her name is Chesley. If that would be something that you think you'd like to explore a little bit more about what this could look like for you, feel free to reach out, and I would be happy to offer whatever we could to support you guys in the role that you have. So I'm grateful for this time together. Thanks for letting me go over a little bit.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to take 2 days and cram it in, 35 minutes, having been through this twice with you. Again, I've learned something, something new. And so it's, as Terry mentioned, a much needed conversation. And I think several of us still found it difficult to create those open-ended questions because it's something that is a foreign, we know the who, what, where, when, whys, but we hadn't put it in perspective of that communication. And so I think at least this is just kind of introducing that whole idea. And I put Chesley's information in the chat. So if you didn't take a snapshot of this screen here, you're more than welcome to look in the chat and get that information there. Beth, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy lady and we appreciate you immensely. So can everybody kind of say thank you to Beth, and we'll continue on in just a minute when we get, have Beth unshare her screen, and then Walter will be able to come up and join us for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you guys. Let me see if I can get out. Here we go. So Holly, I'm sorry. How do I go about getting you to where you need to? You've got it? Great.
There you go.
Okay, so hi there, everybody. Beth, I wanted to, am I on? Can you all hear me?
You're on, Walter.
Yes.
Thank you. A couple of things struck me, Beth, about this evening's presentation. I too, like other people have spoken, I feel very grateful for the time that you bring to this little play chapter to all of us this evening. And the first thing that caught my attention, it was in your initial comments about exploring connections. So I started thinking about what connections exist in my life. And I kind of shot through a variety of groups. There's the connection I have with my family, which is primary. There's a connection I have with colleagues and friends that I work with, which is really important to me also. And then there's the connections with the outer world, what I hear and think about from the news, or what I hear or may read on Facebook. And then there's the connection with myself. So the idea of, as Terry highlighted and expressed appreciation to you, Beth, that when somebody shares something of importance, or shares, period, and you're wanting to know, to understand what it is they're conveying, what's the essential message that they're offering to you. What's the best place to put your attention when that sharing is occurring? And so I find the motivational listening, the word listening, is the centerpiece of the relationship in our marriages and our friendships. Are you listening to me? And when you are listening to me, it's the response that Terry gave that I appreciate so much, Terry. If I'm not mistaken, you wish that you had what you learned this evening, that you could have expressed to that parent just a short while ago. So feeling grateful, expressing the empathy and appreciation for the other person's presence and sharing, seems to me that's, if not the essential piece, a kind of core value in motivating a relationship of love and empathy. So I wanted to then, and to further illustrate that, Beth, I felt a highlight of your presentation this evening was when it was towards the end, when you spoke about how important this process is in your life with your family, with your husband. And I felt a kind of tonal quality of your sharing that highlighted your deepest appreciation for being able to apply that personally. There's the professional application, but there's the personal connections, the deepest ones we have, to improve somehow, to get better at communication, which is not easy. I don't find communication an easy course at all. There's so much to communication. It's a lifelong study, how to get better at it. And that's a segue, if you will, to this next little piece, which is about play. I've been researching and playing and really studying play as a human process that advances development and happy existence for more than 40 years. And I would like to do something with you this evening that I've only done once. And it was at our last play chapter meeting. And what happened was, and I think Renee was present, and you may recall Renee, and well, we had some digital problems, the computer problems. And we had a wonderful presentation and a movie by Paula Lopez, who is a supreme early childhood leader in Ocala. She has a school called Kinderoo, and it's one of the finest programs I've ever seen. Well, anyway, there was a problem, and it was frustrating for me as a presenter. And after the video was on and off, and anyway, out of the blue, I said, you know, what I'd love to do as an experiment, it's a little practice in mindfulness. It's like a prayer. It's very much like a meditation. It's definitely about connecting with yourself. And it may not be something you're familiar with, but for the next, I'm going to time it just for the heck of it, 3 minutes. And after that, we'll just come together. And if anybody has anything they want to say or share about that experience, we'll all listen. We'll practice listening. I do want to say that these 3 minutes are a very tiny illustration of a much larger process, grander, if you will, opus magnus, that involves deep study of play. And over the years at NACI, we would have 3 hours of concentrated time playing and processing the play, just like we're going to do this evening, but only for 3 minutes. 1, 2, 3 minutes. So the idea is, I hope that you got the message and that you have a little cachet of materials nearby, open-ended somethings that you could access, make available. And in a few minutes, we're going to put on some soft music and we're going to go there. We're going to basically experience silent, solitary centering as a mindfulness practice. If you don't have materials, I recommend that you do what one of the other participants the last time we met did. They sat quietly, closed their eyes, and for those 3 minutes, contemplated the previous experience with Paula, in this case, with Beth, as you did. So let's see, is there anything else that I would like to say? I'll give you a minute, I'll give you a couple of seconds before we end, so it's not too abrupt, which is part of the larger process. Usually we do a period of journaling. If you felt like doing that, you're welcome to do it. We could take a moment afterwards and do a little journaling, but it's not obligatory. You wouldn't have to do that. So I think without any further ado, here's the game, kids. For just 3 minutes, just simple, I'm going to set my timer when the little beeper goes off. That's it. That's 3 minutes. What happens in those 3 minutes is all yours. It's your play, your construction of knowledge in those 3 minutes. And so just a teeny little example of how powerful this little process is. I do ask that you focus with me on your materials, if you have them. So I'm going to set my watch right now for 3 minutes. Let me see here. I have one of these little digital, oh, there it is, good, 3 minutes. When I say go, it's going to be 3 minutes. So you got your materials. We're going to put on some soft music. There's no evaluation, there's no testing here. You don't have to say anything. You don't even have to do this exercise. However, if you do, you'll have a different view of the process, all right? So I would say just go ahead and relax for a little while for those 3 minutes, beginning right now. Okay, I'm going to get my materials. The music will come on, and there you go for those 3 minutes. I think the music's going to come on. Julie, you're going to put the music on? Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay.
Come on.
I'll add another minute, so we'll make it 4 minutes. Materials. was actually 3 minutes and a few seconds. Right? All right. So if you're comfortable sitting where you are and closing your eyes for a minute, for 60 seconds, reflect back on that experience, take a nice deep breath and let it out slowly. Just sink into that experience for 1 minute. Okay. So we've absorbed a good bit of information from Beth this evening. We took a break, stepped back, relaxed and fiddled for a few minutes. And what was that experience like for you? If anybody would like to, freely make a comment about, what did you just do? Or what materials did you use? Or how you felt while you were in that state? What thoughts did you have? What ideas may have appeared? What was that experience for you? And just leave it open. There's no evaluation on this. It's just a little sharing and a little listening. Okay? Anybody like to, unmute and share? Please do.
Well, I know for me, it was the first time I sat still all day. And it was a good reminder that the body and the mind must rest. And it must come back to center in order for yourself to continue to move forward. And as early childhood professionals, we are drained so often and so much. And this was a scheduled 3 minutes to sit still. But how many of us don't give ourselves permission to rest and relax and renew? So thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet. Anybody else have anything they'd like to just share in this safe community?
I do. This is Terry. This was the first time in a long just with a piece of paper and doodled. I used to do it a lot, and it's been a long time since I went to that safe place where I could just draw and doodle and listen to the music and just be still, be in the moment.
Yeah.
And that was really powerful for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Anyone else have something to comment on?
I think from my experience, which I absolutely echoed a lot of the similar sentiments, but I doodled as well. And even I felt like, oh, this is a representation. This is a little bit chaotic. Lots of things going on in my personal and professional life. But there was also this sense of peace that even in amidst the chaos, there was calm and intentionality, and that I believe that there's a purpose through this process. So it was wonderful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good.
We have
Good.
a post from Renee that says, my loose parts were the rings on my fingers, connecting with myself, fitting them on different fingers and twirling around and just resting in the moment. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow the
Thank you for
directions,
reading that.
but I went and I turned my camera off and I got a piece of cake. And I sat here, and for the first time all day long, I stopped like you, Julie, and I sat here and I ate the cake. Tiny little bite, by tiny little bite. And I enjoyed the senses of this, because it's carrot cake, of how it smelled, of how it tasted. But I turned my camera off because I was not following directions of doodling, but meditating in my own way. And I may even have a second piece. Just saying.
Just saying.
Now we're all jealous.
Yeah. But it was that reminder to just stop and just do one thing. I have 3 computers or 3 screens and a phone, and I'm usually doing 19 things at once. And so just with the music, and I sat here and I watched Walter and Julie, and I think Terry, you had your camera up and you were showing what you were doing, right? So Julie, even though you had your virtual background on, I could see Post-its and like activity happening. And Walter, I could see this kind of circular thing, and Terry, I could see your doodles, and so I was just sitting here with my cake, watching you guys be creative and just reveling in the stillness of my thoughts. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Holly. You know, I can't help but hear in almost everybody's comments how much they appreciate just slowing down, just taking a break. Yeah. It brings to mind training I participated in. It's been a couple of months. The work that I do is founded on the writing of Friedrich Froebel. He was an 18th century writer and known as the father of kindergarten. And that's what our institute is concerned with. And I attended a day-long conference in England, and every single presentation began with the plea to help our children slow down, to find ways as caregivers, parents, and teachers to think more about the delight and the need, the developmental need for children to be quiet with themselves. If you think how busy a typical classroom is, you know. So that impressed me, and I hear it coming out now as adults, just taking a break for 3 minutes. Good. Anything else? Anybody else have something they'd like to share? Comment about your experience. It could be very different from this, you know. It could have been an absolute bore. You just couldn't sit still and it was distracting. But we're listening to you if you have something to say or write.
Anything new in the chat?
Okay. All right. Well, that was just a little illustration of something that happened last time. And I was so pleased by the response last time and again this time to hear your spontaneous comments expressing what I think is a real, I have the same need. My days are pound away at me, you know, a lot of things going on. And so I'm glad I'm here tonight, because I've had a chance to also slow down with you. And that's in a sense, we just established the community of practice spontaneously, the practice of slowing down and using 3 moments of play to do that, or doodle, Doodling is a wonderful way of focusing the mind, concentrating in a playful way sensorially. And once you begin to do that, automatically the imagination and creativity spark and pop up and suggest things to us from deep within us. That's the intuitive self expressing itself in those comments that some of you made about the content of those moments of experience as reminders. The other part of this, these five capacities, the third one is the capacity to realize something, to organize that experience into perhaps a lifelong process, a guiding force in your life. For instance, take more time to be with oneself quietly is an illustration of a key principle. The fourth part is to gain a sense of control over your mind. Not that you're going to control your mind the whole time in every way, but if you're off on running and doing things, just to gain a sense of control for a few minutes, that's an important accomplishment for children to have. To feel that joy and come up and wrap their arms around your legs and say, thank you so much. I had such a good time doing that. The fifth part of it is you manage to quiet the mind. You experience, as somebody said, a sense of peace and joy in those few moments. That's deep learning, in my opinion. That's a heart connection. That's the emotional. That's the relationship I think of in terms of real learning when we touch the heart. And the hands need to be involved with young children. So said Piaget. And the mind needs to be involved. And it will automatically be there with you, guiding you all the way when you get the fingers going. You're a unified system of consciousness in that state. It's good for parents to know about this, a little practice, because I know parents get upset just like we all do. So encouraging them somehow in your communities to try this little practice, as kooky as it may seem, it's very helpful. For me, it comes out of my 7 years of living in an ashram. I had the privilege of doing this daily in a deeper way, meditating and chanting, sharing together, listening to one another, and growing. And this is part of my professional practice, calling attention to mindfulness, peace, and love through play. So that's my time tonight. I'm just glad to be with you. And we're going to continue in some way. I have no idea what it is this evening. Maybe somebody else does. Does anybody have an idea what we're going to do next?
I have it, Walter.
Yeah.
What I'd like to share with you is a couple of upcoming events that you can participate in to continue these types of conversations. And one of them is, if I can pull it up on my screen. I'm going to try to share my own screen. We'll see how well this works. And here we go.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So we have the virtual play experience. This is number 9 by my good friend Walter Drew and another colleague, Carly Bedford, who have truly mastered this type of play experience on a grander scale virtually, and has had just tremendous response and a tremendous impact. And so this information, I'll be putting this on our Lacey Play Chapter Facebook page. I'll make sure I also send it out to our members here. I know it's going out. Holly's sending it on Tuesday's memo, and so you'll see it around. But it's a hands-on Zoom experience with open-ended materials. And thank you, Holly, for reminding me of my virtual background. I forgot to turn that off so that you could see what we were doing. There is a Zoom link there. There's times, because this is a national/international opportunity. There is no cost, although I know They have some great suggested materials that you could also use in this. So just this flyer, when you see this flyer come around, please be cognizant of the time, the date, and the opportunity. I really, really think that this is a phenomenal opportunity with that. So, okay. So that's the first.
That was great. Great,
Oh.
Julie. I think I'm going to go.
Oh, good. I hope you do that, Walter. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. I hope all of you come to that.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. It's the day
It's
before.
free. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'll see the Halloween hat popping behind me. The other thing is, Holly, do we have a definitive time and location on our November 13th? Yes. Well, do tell, my friend.
So the final pop-up, not summer summit, will take place at the Early Learning Coalition of Orange County on Saturday, November 13th. So we are looking forward to being back in person and being able to share a space with that. If you have not had the opportunity to take advantage of it, it is so cool, you guys. Seriously, it's like bringing a conference to your backyard, but we all stay together for the entire day. Lunch is provided, CEUs are provided for Flacy members for free. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. Scholarships are available. The PNC Bank made it available, so the whole day is only $24.50. If you don't need a scholarship, it's $49, but there's no qualifications for it, right? Just PNC Bank thought it was great. It's all about social emotional, and you can find information flacy.org/summer summits.
What's the time for that on the 13th?
So the sessions begin at 9. The doors open at 8:30. I did not know this, but early childhood educators are very prompt. And so when I said doors open at 8:30, they were all there at 8:15. So the doors literally don't open until 8:30, but session doesn't actually start until 9. But what's so beautiful about these summer summits is the opportunity for us to network and share space with one another. And Beth, if I recall correctly, was this not the first training that you were back face to face for like when we did it over the summer? So it was like, hallelujah, people. So yeah.
It was, and it was amazing. I don't think you can truly articulate the passion that was kind of pent up in the room. So it was an amazing experience.
And I know that Renee, who's on our call today, was a part of one of those experiences. And I think it was kind of, that's what started her joining the play chapter or vice versa. But it really is a wonderful time for networking and hugging a neck. They're masked or a knuckle bump or whatever. It's a great way to physically and connect with our friends. Another way to connect with people, if you're not quite ready to jump into those live sessions, is our Flacy virtual conference. We're really excited. Holly has got this thing down to a science after last year. And last year was phenomenal. So I am just pumped about this year. And it's October 22nd and 23rd. And there's still time to register. You can go to flacy.org and there's a whole section on events in there. And the cost is so great. It's $99 for the 2 days. We have a live DJ coming on Friday night from the New England area. And we're going to be broadcast, I guess, on some radio station up there. It's going to be phenomenal. Like early childhood, this is what we do. Right? We love to play music and dance and have a party. And hey, if we can get CEUs and in-service training hours, so please consider sharing that and bringing a friend. I think enrollment is still good until, do we have a deadline, Holly, on the last day for enrollment for that opportunity? Or are we opening that up?
So in terms of, no, it's pretty much, yes, registration. You can register all the way up until 10 a.m. on Friday morning. However, if you wanted to participate in the Leadership Summit, that registration will close at midnight on Thursday. So it's a separate event, and it's all about building early childhood advocates. We have an all-star lineup. We have technical assistance and recommendations coming from members of the Florida legislature. We have Lauren Hogan joining from NACI to talk all about advocacy. Way Reynolds from DCF, James Richmond from the Division of Early Learning. We also have 3 of your peers that are going to come and share their advocacy story about how they developed their advocacy kind of mission and what that story looks like. And some of you might know them. Norma Schwartz from the Miami area. Kimberly Sineth, she is a center director at a place called the Learning Pavilion. And then Keisha Jenkins, who was formerly with an Early Learning Coalition when we first invited her, and now actually does community engagement for the Children's Movement of Florida. So she's a former teacher, a mom herself, and so her advocacy story is a pretty amazing one. So you'll hear from your peers and you'll write your own advocacy story. So again, the Leadership Summit registration closes at midnight on Thursday, but for the conference itself, right up until 10 a.m. on Friday morning, you can register and get connected.
Yep, so it's this Thursday and this Friday.
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
registered for both.
Woohoo!
And I put a link in, I think I mentioned it at our last Zoom call too, was the Loose Parts Summit that's happening next month. Actually,
Right.
in 2 weeks. I just
Yep.
put that link in.
Got it. Thanks, Renee. Yeah, and that's it's the Think Small Institute.
Yes.
Summit, November 1st through the 6th. And so that is also in your chat area. And guys, I know there was a few of us on and some people have to pop off. So if you could please take these opportunities, Dr. Drew's opportunity and our Fleacy conference, and sharing, networking, letting us know what we have out there. I know, Fairy Dust has some things and Teacher Tom has some things. And so it's not a one and done, it's a collaborative opportunity. We're in this for the children and families, and we're in this for our own professionalism. And so by being present tonight, you in this elongated time have really sacrificed your personal and professional time. And I know on behalf of Holly and Walter and myself and Beth, our speaker today, we want to thank you ever so much for being mindful of those moments. Please reach out to us at any time. We are going to end our recorded session here, and we'll let you guys get on your way. We will be having a meeting next month. We're just trying to nail down our guest speaker for next month. But I think if we get who we think it is, you guys are going to be amazed. Part 2. So I wish you all a very blessed, healthy, good night, and we wish you well. Bye, guys.